right, a few minutes for us to just take a pause and think through the book of Hebrews and hopefully be encouraged by God's word as we build towards this call that we can endure through Jesus Christ, where we're at right now. And so we're in Hebrews 7, the whole chapter. It's a complex chapter. It can be an intimidating chapter. But we're going to zero in on one phrase in one verse and just kind of unpack that a little bit. When I was a manager for a restaurant, some point in my time there, corporate made the policy that we had to be open 24 hours a day over the weekend. And so there was a couple of days we would not close down at all. And the concept was that we would have more hours to meet needs of individuals who were hungry. So if you were out late on Friday night and you had a craving for a greasy cheeseburger, we're available. We can meet that need. Or if you're up really early on Saturday or Sunday and you needed some coffee, we're available. So come on by. We can meet your need at any time now. It was the idea. In Hebrews 7, verse number 25, we are given this promise, and this is the promise of Jesus always interceding for us, always there. And it just reads, since he, verse number 25, since he, Jesus, always lives to make intercession for them, and the them is for those who draw near through him, for those he has saved, beginning of that verse. It's a wonderfully encouraging promise. And often when we think about the promise, we think of the aspect of then when I go to God in prayer, Jesus is available and he will intercede for us, just like that restaurant open 24 hours a day, that whenever I need it, it's there for us. And that's true, but it goes even deeper than that. Now, just taking a step back on chapter 7, I said it can be an intimidating chapter, and it really can be. As soon as you begin the chapter, you're introduced to this guy named Melchizedek, the king of Salem. And if you're reading the chapter and you have no clue who Melchizedek is, don't feel bad. Melchizedek is mentioned one time in the Old Testament, and then here in the book of Hebrews. And Melchizedek is someone that Abraham, the father of the nation of Israel, gives a tithe to at some point in Genesis. And so the logic then that the writer of Hebrews uses is Melchizedek then is greater than Abraham because Abraham's the one giving a tithe to Melchizedek, the king of Salem. And so Melchizedek is this great king-priest figure. And then the argument continues on, because he's kind of like, where are you going with this? Well, as the chapter unfolds, then he's making this argument that the Levite priests of the Old Testament that we see, the high priests that serve, and there's so many of those throughout the Old Testament, they're from the descendants of Abraham. So if Melchizedek was greater than Abraham, then it stands to reason that the Levite priests are even lower than Abraham because they're descendants from Abraham. And so he's making this case that Melchizedek, that line, that priesthood is a great priesthood. Well, then he gets to Jesus. And he says, here's Jesus, and he's not a Levite priest. Actually, he's from Judah, the tribe. And God places him in through a covenant as part of Melchizedek priesthood, which is greater than anything else we've seen. So that's why I say it can kind of be an intimidating argument. But it all leads us up to verse number 22, where you're met with Jesus, who is the great high priest of a better covenant. And he's a great high priest because the Levite priests, they would pass away. Here's Jesus Christ. He's a forever priest. He's the great high priest because the Levite priests, there'd be so many priests doing all these things, and here's Jesus Christ, and he is one priest. And he's the great high priest also because they would offer all these sacrifices, and Jesus Christ offers what the passage calls a once-for-all sacrifice. He's done. They did it all daily over and over again for sins, and here comes Jesus, and he offers up one sacrifice, and he meets the need. He makes the payment for sin. But focus then on what that leaves us with, because it leaves us with he always lives to make intercession for them, for us, Christian. Now, I already said we often picture this then as this promise that Jesus is always available to intercede for our prayers, kind of like the logic would be with a restaurant, open 24 hours a day. Hey, up late worrying about a bunch of things in life right now, or you just messed up, don't worry. There's Jesus. He's available 24/7. He's ready to intercede for you. Or getting an early day, super busy, and you're overwhelmed as far as the day begins, and don't worry. Jesus is available. He's open up 24/7. He's ready to intercede for you. But if that's the case, then the passage should read, for since he is always ready to make intercession for them. It doesn't read that, though. It is saying that he is always making the intercession for us. He always lives to make intercession for them. He is doing it constantly, which means right now, you don't have to be praying. You're listening to a YouTube video. Jesus, for you, Christian, is making intercession for you. He is interceding on your behalf before God right now. Now, I don't know what he's saying, but we kind of sing the truce. Arise, my soul, arise, from one of the Wesleys. He ever lives above for me to intercede. 5 bleeding wounds he bears, received on Calvary. They pour effectual prayers. They intercede. They strongly plead for me. Wesley's making the case that Jesus' constant interceding is his sacrificial death, of saying, I've made payment. They are mine. Which means in my lowest of moments where I'm ignoring God, when I'm giving into that besetting sin for the umpteenth time this month, when I'm depressed and I am low, there is still Jesus, and he is making intercession for me before God. It means on those times when I am weary and I am worn out, there is Jesus, and he's making intercession for me before God. The times when I'm not praying, the times that I don't want to pray, there is still Jesus, and he's making intercession for me before God. He is pleading my case. And in that, I see the blessing from God constantly upon me, because Jesus Christ is constantly interceding for me. So we come back to our call, endure. And that ability to endure becomes easier because it's not just us and our good times and I'm going to press on. It is here is Jesus Christ. He is always interceding for me. So I can continue on. I don't give up. I can endure because I have a great high priest, Jesus Christ, who today, whether I strive hard or whether I really falter today, there's Jesus Christ and he is interceding for me. And so I can continue on. God bless as we continue to walk through the book of Hebrews.